gonna hang out. So, just kind of sitting here, waiting for the room to fill up a little bit. I guess I could show you what I'm doing here. Pet big guy. Good morning, Unicorn Hollow Homestead says. Glad you are healed. Good morning, says C103. Good morning, brother. How you doing? All right. So, yes, now I am recovered. I am recovered from my back injury. Shalom, shalom, everyone. Shalom, Aid. Hey, how you doing? Hey, Sister Vicky. Shalom. And I haven't done videos in, like 2 weeks, mainly because of the muscle relaxants that I was on. I went to the ER twice with this back problem. I'm sure Pastor's been talking about it on his Patreon channel. The day we went to the ER the first time, the pain was so bad I could barely stand up. And so Pastor had to help me. And I knew even then, like, this was beyond what we would be able to do. I mean, he and I could have I could have taken Tylenol and used ice packs and things, but the way the farmstead runs and everything, I was picturing, weeks of being laid up. And so I was hoping when we went in there, they'd be able to fix it quick. And the ER doc was a woman. Let me see what Charles' comments are. Oh, thanks, Aid. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you, Carrie. Was a woman, and she just kind of had me lift my leg one side and the other side, and then like hit my kneecaps and test my reflexes and my toes and stuff, and said, it's more muscular than mechanical. So I think what she meant by that was you didn't break anything. You probably pulled a muscle. And then she gave me muscle relaxers and a NSAID, which is an anti-swelling med. And there was one other thing. Those two, and anti-swelling, muscle relaxer. I'll think of the other one in a minute. And then sent me home. And so I came home and I took those meds, and they did help the back pain some, but they also knocked me out. So if you've been watching Pastor's videos, he's been talking about, having to do all the chores and take care of the animals and all of that stuff. Because I was basically out, and that's why I didn't make videos. The muscle relaxer would make me so tired, like you're legally not able to drive when you're on that thing. And so I just laid in bed most of the days. I would get up and ate basically salads and yogurt. Let me see what you guys are saying here. You're looking good. Muscle relaxers are a pure blessing. Good morning, says Auntie Pam. Does my heart good to know you're better. Oh, thanks, sister. Can't stay. Birthdays and Father's Day celebrations all around. Well, have a great time with all that. It's nice that you got to stop in for even a moment. So while I'm laying there, sleeping, I watched all 6 seasons of Downton Abbey. Checked my comments section. I wanted to do videos. I wanted to talk about stuff, but I just couldn't. So today, I stopped taking the muscle relaxers about 2 days ago. And I'm even not really taking a leave. So one of the things that I thought I could share with you all about how this all came to a conclusion. I was almost at the end of the medications anyway, and my back was starting to feel better. I wasn't feeling the same kind of pain. And a bunch of people had recommended to me to go see a chiropractor. My brother, my daughter, people in my church, my father-in-law, they all said, go see a chiropractor. And the second ER visit, which was about a week, it was a week after the first one when I was still in a lot of pain and still didn't have a lot of mobility. I talked the doctor into doing an x-ray because she hadn't even x-rayed my back and I didn't know if I had kidney stones or what. And so she did a CAT scan and she said, it'll show bones, but it won't show nerves. You have to get an MRI for that. And so she did it and she came back and they did blood and urine tests too. And they said, everything's normal, meaning I had no, hadn't broken my back, hadn't cracked any vertebrae or anything like that, because the injury happened over time. Like, my back's been bothering me for a while, just a little bit in the morning. But I've done a lot of heavy duty chores 2 weeks ago. And so that, I think it just brought it, made it acute. So after her CAT scan, I finally got an appointment with a chiropractor, and we went to a chiropractor because we've had a really good friend named Jay Morris, who was a chiropractor and a really good one. He's now gone into the nursing field, but he knew his stuff, and he was in on things like biofreeze when it first happened. And when those TENS electric units that you guys talked about, he had one of them too. He was a very good chiropractor and a nice guy as well. So the chiropractor I ended up going to was someone that had been recommended by people we knew and trusted, including our son and his wife. When they lived here on the land with us, my daughter-in-law used to go to this particular chiropractor. And so I finally got an appointment with him. And my appointment with him came like 2 days before the meds were going to run out. My back was feeling pretty good, but I still didn't actually know what was wrong with it. And when I went into his office, he immediately took an x-ray, which I thought was like, okay, maybe finally, the CAT scan didn't show anything. And he had that x-ray ready in about 3 minutes. I found that amazing. Like, the hospital took the CAT scan and the results of that came back in like half an hour, but they couldn't do an MRI. They recommended an MRI. This x-ray that this chiropractor took, oh, hello. Uh-oh, this is bad. Look, she's not supposed to be here. What are you doing? Huh? What are you doing? Yeah, she's supposed to be on a whole nother level of the property. Can't believe she's down here right now. Anyway, he had that x-ray done so fast, and it showed, or he could tell, that I had a bulging disc between my L4 and my L3, and I had a little bit of arthritis. And just by doing the manipulation thing, he said, like, your hip is all swollen, you've pulled something over here too. And I was impressed by that. I really was, medically speaking. Oh gosh, it's an invasion. Now look at this. This is the cool thing about live TV. None of them are supposed to be here. Get out of here, you guys. Go on back. Get out of here. They're eating my grapevines and everything else in the middle of my live stream. Go on. Go on, you bad ghost. Go on. Go on. Jeez. That's why live can be exciting, y'all. Anyway, I was super impressed that the chiropractor was able to x-ray my back, look at the x-ray, tell me what was actually wrong, and then do his, the corrections, which really helped. And it wasn't too painful either. I know the things I did weren't super serious. Having a bulging disc is not the same as a herniated disc, and by having him, correct things, I'm sure we'll get it to where it's manageable, or I don't know if it can be completely fixed or not. We didn't discuss that, but he certainly improved things a lot. Yes, the goats are afraid they're not going to get any food, which they're not. I'm not feeding them grain. Anyway, the chiropractor did a great job. And I'm supposed to go back 3 times a week for like a month, and I'm more than willing to do that because I was impressed by how he was able to show me and tell me what was wrong. And so it's not like a blanket, chiropractors are the greatest thing in the world, because he was someone we already knew and came with, recommendations from people we trusted. I would have been a lot more nervous going to a chiropractor I didn't know, because I've also had friends tell me they've gone to chiropractors and made things worse. And so if I were to recommend anything to any of you all, I would say do both. I'm not of the churches that say science is evil and wicked and all that. Look at that. They're still here eating my grapevines. Get out of here. What are you doing? Go on. Get. Typical chore on shofar. Get out of here. Go on. Get. Get. Go on. Get, goat. Come on. Go on. Get out of there. Get. Get. Telling you, man. I know Abe can't do a live stream like this. Go on. Bad goats, get. Have to get some assistance on this after this live stream. Take care of this matter. Anyway, my point is, I think you can do both. I think you can have medical care, because we have great medical care here in the States. I've had my life saved, 3 times by having appendix out and a brain tumor removed. But I also think that the chiropractors know what they're talking about. This person is a doctor of chiropractic, or however you say it, and that is an actual degree. I think they call it a DO, maybe Doctor of Orthopedics or something like that. But the study of joints and bones and everything, I'm sure they've been doing it a while. And that's why if they're, properly trained and experienced, they can do good. That certain pains and, like if you're, you can't lift your arm above a certain level because the joint, by aligning everything correctly and then strengthening the muscles around it, I think there's a legitimate medical validity to that, if it makes sense. Let's see. Hey there, Sergeant Jane. Shalom. Happy Father's Day to all you guys out there. They love you and your grapevines. Yeah, they want to eat them, and grapevines should be pruned, but I want to prune them. I don't want them to do it. Got a live chat in a while. Nice surprise Father's Day gift. I have 2 bottle babies right now. They are a handful. I tell you what, bottle babies, they're a blessing in one way, because when they get bigger, they're not afraid of you, and you'll be able to handle them and touch them and things. But bottle babies are demanding, and they get more so the bigger they get. And by the time they're big enough to be weaned, you are ready to wean them, because they get bigger and stronger. So Auntie Pam said they helped me in the past. So Kate's crew, that's right. So I think chiropractic and the medical world should blend together. I don't understand why chiropractors have to be out separate, like a whole separate thing. It's a different building. It's, a different system. Even I think some insurances are starting to cover chiropractic now, which I think is really cool, but some won't. And I think there's a problem there. It would be really nice if you could go into a hospital and get the x-ray, the MRI, and the chiropractic care all in one thing. How many live streams do you watch where roosters are also commenting? Like every single one of a homesteader I know, the roosters are always in the background doing that. So uh, um, some of y'all commented on your own back thing and how you're using the electric shock thing. It's called a TENS unit, and they carry them at Walmart. Hey, Tim, hallelujah. Thank you, brother. And prayers. I mean, even while all of that's going on, all y'all were praying for me, and Pastor had people on his Patreon and his YouTube praying, and our community was praying, and my family was praying. And so I think the prayers help guide the treatment, because like I said, I'm not against medical knowledge. I think it's there, and that saints can use it as well as everybody else. But I think the prayers guided us to decide to also do the chiropractic, and I'm pretty sure that the chiropractor is a Christian. And so that all worked out okay. I'm still supposed to kind of take it easy, so I'm not doing the heavy lifting. And so there I am. Hallelujah. Oh, nice. See her. Shalom, Lena. Thanks, Lynn. Good to see you guys too. Two other things I wanted to talk about. No. Those goats. Go on, get out of there. Two other things I wanted to discuss, because I was able to, spend some time on my back thinking and not having to do a whole lot. I just found out, I'm still reading that book on Alexander Hamilton, and just found out that Thomas Jefferson was kind of a subversive within the first United States government. Even though he was the vice president, he did not always support George Washington, and he actively began to undercut Alexander Hamilton and the things he was trying to do, which was start an economy with this new country that had ties to the international community. They had ambassadors that went to Britain for a while, Ben Franklin being one of the most important ones, and to France, and in the Caribbean, American shipping and fisheries and like lumber and stuff was being traded. Ships were carrying out trade, and Alexander Hamilton had been a clerk in a like shipping import-export business in the Caribbean. And so when the American economy needed to be stood up after they won the revolution, he is one of the main people who did it. And Jefferson at that time had been in France and had started to see the beginning of the French Revolution, which was spurred on by our revolution. They were trying to throw off a monarchy as well. And as you all know, it turned into a bloodbath near the end. It kind of went beyond democracy to just plain anarchy for a while. And even the guys who started that revolution, like Robespierre and so on, wound up being guillotined near the end of it. And Jefferson, because he'd seen the beginnings, was all, very supportive of it within our government, where John Adams was kind of not real excited by the French, didn't really trust them. George Washington was more friendly to the British and wanted to know how and they should have the diplomatic ties to the French. And Jefferson was actively undercutting Washington and Hamilton during Washington's last presidency, his last 4 years of the presidency. And George Washington actually got pretty angry about it. And that's another thing that I don't remember being taught in the history books, is how, we're told Jefferson was was many good things, the writer of the Declaration of Independence and an inventor. He made some sort of machinery that you could, trace a thing and it drew it on another piece of paper over here. And he sent Lewis and Clark out to explore the western part of the country. He's on the nickel. but he really was kind of a subversive. And he had, when the first French ambassador, whose name was Genet, came over, he kind of talked him into writing editorials that were anti-monarchy and attacking George Washington, things that nowadays, and even then, he could have been charged with treason if someone had pushed that point. So that was kind of interesting. I do urge you guys to read histories of the founding of our country. There's another book out called Patriots, and I forget the writer. It's too bad that I forget the author of that. Langguth, I think it's Langguth, Langguth, wrote a really good book on the movements of the revolution as it started, and how Sam Adams and John Adams and Patrick Henry and Paul Revere all were kind of rolling. It was just, one thing after another. They got stuff started in the Sons of Liberty, and then what's his name? Oh my goodness, the traitor. Oh my goodness. Shalom, Nidavir. Is that thunder there outside? Can't tell. Nope, no thunder. What is the traitor's name? Benedict Arnold, how he went up to a British fort somewhere, I think in Canada, and stole the cannons and brought them back down, and that's what helped the early American army, which really wasn't an army, defeat the British a couple of times. There's these cannons that were stolen. So there's some fascinating information there. And then this Alexander Hamilton biography is covering the actual setting up of the government once the revolution is over. And Hamilton started the Department of the Treasury and the Coast Guard, which I never knew. And Jefferson was in charge of the State Department, which at that time had very little power. And the post office came under the Department of the Treasury. Do you guys mind? Somebody's laying an egg in there. And Madison was involved in there too. I forget if he was like a state senator from Virginia, but he and Hamilton wrote a series of essays that really helped shape the flavor of the government and so on. It's really fascinating stuff. And I really urge y'all to check into it, learn more about our country, because it's a really amazing thing. Is Chasing Life on there? Hey, shalom! I'm doing all right. My back is better. I still can't do the heavy duty lifting and things like that. It's very windy here. Let's say 20 to 25 mile an hour winds by how the leaves are going. Can y'all hear me okay? Should I make this thing a little closer to me? There. Change my name formally. Oh, from Pharma. Okay, Sophie Akers. I wondered about that. I've just seen earlier this morning a woman named Macy Gray wants to change the design of the American flag. I guess it's a big deal. See, I think that's silly. The British flag didn't change. I mean, the American flag stood for the original 13 colonies and has the 50 stars for the 50 states. How can that be offensive, right? It's not a thing. There is nothing offensive and racist and whatever about the founding of the country, and changing the flag is a communist deal. That's exactly what that is. The communist deal is to tear down all the foundations of the government that was in place and replace it with the government that is against religion, against individuality, forces you to serve their government in whatever place they want to stick you, no matter what your natural abilities and interests are. And everything goes back to the state, and the people who end up having all the power in a communist state are the party members, because they get positions in the bureaucracy that is huge, and then everyone else is still a serf. It's a horrible form of government, and so we should not be supporting replacing the flag, changing the Constitution, none of that. All of that is communist nonsense. They want to cancel Canada Day here. Soapy Acres, and you guys have the thing going on with that Christian pastor where he has been arrested and thrown to the ground, and just bad things happening up there, which is horrible. It really is quite awful. Patriotism is considered racist supremacist. Right, Sergeant James, because that's how the communists do it. They phrase it just like that, racist and elitist. Oh, you're part of the elitist class. And then what communism does, generally speaking, is murder a bunch of people. Like the Russian Revolution, they murdered the Tsar and all of his children. His children were slaughtered in a basement. I mean, that's disgusting. That is reprehensible behavior. When Mao Zedong took over China, the first 5 years, he killed all the learned people, all the professors, all the lawyers, all the doctors, anyone who could say, this is a bad form of government we're implementing here. They just murdered them all. They did the same thing in Pol Pot's government, the Khmer Rouge. The French Revolution turned into that. It happens in any country that turns communist. They just kill everyone who's smart and learned and running businesses, and they return their country to medieval time frame technology. And it's terrible. It's terrible. We should just reject it completely. I do. I'm doing good, enjoying summer and gardening. Gotta go. Time for Father's Day breakfast. Shalom, everyone. Shalom, shalom. I think we are at war, but it's under the guise of racism. A flag change means it's been changed. Exactly, Nicole Marie. And communism is an underground kind of thing, too. They found 215 native children's bodies at one of the residential schools, so now we can't celebrate our country. That's just a shame. So I wanted to urge you all to do that, learn more about the foundings of this country and understand how great it is and how different it is from so many countries in the world, and why we need to hang on to it. The one thing, and the communists are working on it, they're working on our younger generation so this won't, they can make this change happen, is Americans by nature are not like citizens under a monarchy or citizens under a fascist government or anything like that. There's a lot of us stubborn, independent Americans who put our heels in and don't want to be pushed around. And that's the older generations. That's people my age and maybe, the people in their 40s. But these 20-year-olds are falling for this communist nonsense. And they're the ones that are going to be in power later. And they're the ones that our children are going to have to be dealing with. And that's where they're doing it. They're doing it through music, through social media, handouts from the government. That's what these government money handouts are doing. It's convincing people they don't want to be individual. They don't want to achieve. They don't want to go out and push their own limits. They want to sit there and be fed. It's like that movie Idiocracy. And I've said it before. But I want to get off that subject and on to the next. The last thing I wanted to talk about, because we have things that we have to do today, is I watched a live stream of following Yeshua, Brother Chris. He's now sort of part of a triumvirate with Brother Andre and Brother David, and they're all believers who are homesteading together. Well, homesteading at the same time. I don't believe that their properties are right next to each other, but they are spiritually together, and they're doing some serious, deep study into the Word. And their latest slogan is nothing but the book, which is what we agree with, but we've had to, shed things that we've learned in our walk through, finding Torah and everything else. And one of the things they said in their live stream was about deliverance. Do you guys know anything about deliverance? Do you know what that is? It is based on, and this is going to be religious talk. So if you're not religious, maybe you want to tune out at this point. but Jesus healed people who had demonic spirits in them. The most famous being the man who was hanging around the cemetery and had been chained and would break the chains and, running around ragged and shredded clothes and everything. And Jesus casts demons out of him, and they are legion. They are, so many of them. And these demons go into these pigs. They actually ask permission because he tells them they have to go, and they say, well, please, can we go into these pigs? And he says yes, and then the pigs jump off a cliff and drown in the ocean. And there's a lot of stuff going on in there. I'm not a pastor, but that is one example of Yeshua doing deliverance. And there are other examples in the word of deliverance being done by him and apostles, people who are tormented. And the way deliverance is done in the word by Jesus and others is very simple things. Sometimes he just says, get out, you leave, or the apostles do the same thing, just a very simple, like, lay a hand on this person and command this spirit to leave, and they leave. And deliverance, the way I've witnessed it and been taught it, and also when I've done it for other brethren, has been based more on a 1930s Christian church, maybe a Baptist manual. And it's very extensive. Talks about all sorts of spiritual connections and all sorts of things like that. And people who disagree with that have said in the past, there's not spirits in every single thing. It's not like Hinduism where the shed has a spirit and the rock has a spirit and everything else. And there's some truth to that. Even when I would do deliverance, I stuck mainly with things seeming to be troubling the person I was trying to help, because it is a gift to release someone from something that's tormenting them. And so I would focus in on the things that seemed relevant to that person and try to help them be delivered of that. And I've seen it happen. I've had it happen with me, and it's very cathartic. And for many people, it allows them to forget about things in their past that bother them and be able to look to their future being released of the burden of whatever it was we were dealing with. And I'm staying general because I don't feel it's right to, use specific examples there. But Brother Chris brought up, and Andre and David brought up a really good point, in that the model that is happening in the movement of Torah believers is based on a Christian church model, and that's not what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be doing things by the word. That is, back to the roots, back to the basics, back to the old paths. And so I thought that was a really interesting comment and very accurate. And I'm very curious to see how that's going to carry out within the movement of believers. Because if Yeshua did it and the apostles did it, it's not witchcraft, it's not woo-woo, it's not something you can't understand. And it's also something that people who care do for other people. And the people who need it are ones who are at the end of their rope. They are tormented by whatever it is, memories, experiences, guilt or abuse or whatever. But Chris also, and Andre and David also tied it to, because in the word there are mentions of spirits. There's like the spirit of anger, the spirit of fear, but it's a finite number. It's maybe 30, because I did research on it a while back. That a lot of what people are tormented with are just the cursings of the sins they're committing. And they tied it back to Deuteronomy 26. I think it's 26, the chapter where in Deuteronomy where Moses talks about the blessings that come from being obedient to the Father and his laws, and the cursings. And a lot of the things that people are suffering are the curses because they're unwilling to give up that sinful thing. And I thought that was worth looking into too. So that's it for this morning. Those are the things I wanted to talk about. I wanted to let you know I'm feeling better. I should be doing more videos. I'm so far behind on gardening. It's not even funny. It's just terrible how much I couldn't do with the back thing going on. And so that's something I'm going to be trying to get back into. We've got grapes, we've got Swiss chard and everything. Uh-oh. Pastor's got to go somewhere and he's got to go fast. If I can get him in the picture. There he goes. With the pack. With the dog pack. Yeah, so I'm back. That leaves us with a lot to think about today. Yeah, Lena, and research. I agree. Going to the book should tell us the answer to that particular issue, and I think the brethren are on it there. I think it's worth looking in Deuteronomy at that and comparing that to what people are being tormented or complaining of or want a resolution of, and to heal them, to just follow the example of Yeshua and the apostles and how they did it, and not go through a huge long involved ceremony. And it's not a ceremony, I'm just using that word, but it when I've done it, it's taken a while and it's been exhausting. But the way they did it, it was quick, and it I think it could probably work the same way if you just look at the blessings and the curses as well. Thank you. Any questions before I go, y'all? Or comments? Strengthen your core, Exodus. Exactly. The chiropractor said that. I've got a pretty strong core. I've done a lot of sit-ups in my day, but he did give me some exercises to do, and so I am doing those exercises. It was so good to see you up and about. Thank you. Praise Yah. Many blessings to you. Goodbye, Kate's crew. Carry on this summer. Enjoy and love. Hallelujah. I love that. I love that. I think we're going to need to kind of band together, believers. I think there's things coming. Oh, feeling better. Thank you for the live this morning. I know you guys are saying goodbye because I said I hadn't needed to get off, but there was one more issue and I just remembered it. There's a lady named Colleen Prepper. She's just started her channel. She's got 30 subscribers, a couple of videos. Her videos are pretty short, but from watching a couple of them, she works in an ER somehow. I don't know if she's a doctor or a nurse or what. But she said there's some big decisions for her coming up in September. And I think that's a truth. I think the vaccine issue is going to be coming to a head for a lot of people who still have to work. Schools, maybe, first responder situations, hospitals, maybe even school systems are going to be requiring people to have the vaccine in order to continue working. And that's going to be an issue for a lot of people. And so now is a time, because it's July, August, September, a couple of months to really dig deep for your own self if you think you should get it or you don't want to get it, and what you're going to do if it comes down to crunch time for you. Again, you all decide that for yourself. I am not going to try to influence anyone on that particular issue. I just know that it is going to be an issue, and she brought it up. So y'all think about that too. Yeah, see? Pharma, Soapy Acres, exactly right. What is going to happen? And in America, it can be as small as just your local town. You know, your town itself could say, we need our clerk and our water works person and our mayor to have the vaccine. Or the town could say, no, we're not going to require it. And it can then go out to a city. A city could say, yeah, no, we don't care in this city. We're not going to require it. And yet the county could say, yep, we're going to require it of all our first responders. And you're going to see that power struggle like we've seen in the past over the local rights versus the bigger rights. Because it goes from the city to the county to the state, then to the federal government. And in America right now, FedGov, the CDC, and I talked about this when COVID came out, does have the right written in their, guidelines to state, we want everyone to have this vaccine. It's kind of extreme. They can also hold you. They can not arrest you, but have you detained while they figure out if they're going to make you have it or not. So the federal government is not supposed to be able to do that. And yet your state could say, we want everyone in the state, and still your county could say, no, we don't want to do that thing. So it's going to be an interesting summer and rest of the year with that going on. And we need to look at international things too, because it's going to go international. Airlines are starting to say you can't fly without it. Lots of countries want to let Americans in because we had the worst COVID outbreak, and before the vaccine came out, they had their borders shut to Americans. So it's going to be an interesting thing. All right, now I'm going to get off. Thank you all for coming. Kate's crew, hang in there. Keep prepping. Keep your spiritual armor on. Keep your eyes on politics and be smart. Couldn't find her channel. It's Colleen, Colleen, what? And I say, what? But it's Colleen What Prepper. And she's on YouTube. So you should be able to get it. Should be able to find her on there. Just try again. Colleen What Prepper. All right, y'all. Bless you. Shalom.